Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday Morning Coffee and Cards. My name is Michelle Irene, and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I love coming to you live first thing in the morning. It is just a pleasure to get up and craft before I start my day. I've got my coffee here, and I'm ready to go. I don't know about you, but I am just waiting and waiting and waiting until this new catalog goes live. And so this week on my blog, I have been sharing with you some of the designer series paper that is available either now if you're a demonstrator or coming up on June 3rd. On Monday, I did 6 beautiful cards using the Garden Lane suite, and yesterday I used the Follow Your Art paper with the beautiful bright designs and very fun. That's the one I presented at Onstage. Good morning, Michelle. It's good to see you. And today I'm going to take some of the Magnolia Lane paper. This paper is beautiful, and I know we have a tendency as paper crafters not to chop up our favorite paper. We just want to save it because it's so pretty. And this paper really is. I mean, if you look closely, you can see the subtle coloring and shading on these beautiful little magnolia blossoms. And I love all the detail. You've got some very tiny little flowers here and some mossy meadow greenery. And then on pieces like this, you can really see that magnificent shading with just a touch of, looks like so saffron right in the center. So today we're going to talk about cutting very basic layers. A lot of times we see these cards and we just don't know what size our demonstrators are using. And you know, on my blog over at www.makingmemorieswithmichelle.com, every day I give you a tutorial that includes the measurements of all the layers that you need. But you may be crafting and you don't have my blog available, or you may not be in front of your computer and you don't know or you can't remember. So this week and next, I'm going to talk to you about very basic card layers, starting with the size of your base and how to cut it, as well as the first 2 layers. And it uses some math. It uses some very basic fractions. But once you get the hang of it, it's going to make much more sense. All right, so we're going to start with a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock, and I always use the thick Whisper White when I make my card bases, unless I'm using Very Vanilla. Then I use the thick Very Vanilla. And this is just a little thicker and sturdier. There's nothing worse than sending a handmade card and someone loving it so much to put it on a mantle and then finding out that that handmade card flops over. Okay? So you want to use the thick Whisper White cardstock. Now, here's a trick. I have to admit, I was really embarrassed. I think I was a demonstrator for 3 years before I knew this. So this is a quick and simple tip for you. If you have a piece of cardstock, you want to score it before you cut it. And why do we do that? Because it saves you time in the long run. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to grab my Stampin' Trimmer. No, excuse me, my scoring tool. And I have a piece of designer cardstock. This is thick Whisper White again. And I'm going to move this down so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to line it up in what is called portrait mode, or the short end up at the top. Can everybody see what I'm doing? Because I can't see on my camera. I'm hoping that you can. Oh, yeah. Okay, you can see the top. All right, and I have even taken a Sharpie and marked at 4 1/4. Okay, so on your scoring board across the top, you have 4 inches, and the first tick mark is 4 1/8. and then the second tick mark is 4 1/4. Now 4 1/4 divides this paper, which is 8 1/2, exactly in half. So taking your stylus, and I use the small ball end of my stylus, I'm going to put it in the groove and I'm going to follow it all the way straight down. And we're done. This is my favorite, absolute favorite. Now, what we're going to do then is turn this landscape or lengthwise, and using my Stampin' Trimmer, I'm going to cut this now at 5 1/2 because 5 1/2 is half of the 11 inches. And I can get 2 card bases with just 1 slice. Okay, ready? 2 card bases ready to go. Set that aside because we're going to come back to it. When I began card making, I have to tell you, it was a little stressful because I wasn't sure how to cut all of my layers, and I found myself really wasting a lot of paper because I would cut it in the wrong direction, and I knew there was a way to maximize how many pieces I was getting, but it was really hard, and I understood the fraction piece of it, but I'm not a visual person. I know, I work in the visual arts. I don't understand. But I'm really not a visual person, as my mother will tell you. And I had a hard time understanding how to get layers out of a piece of cardstock. So, let's do it together. Again, I have my Stampin' Trimmer, and I have a piece of 8 1/2 by 11. Basic black cardstock. And if you want, you can, always put that arm out so it gives a little more support. Now, you know that the Stampin' Trimmer is retiring. I'm a little sad because this is one of my favorite trimmers, not so much for like huge projects, because I have some pretty big and hefty paper cutters for, when I prep classes and stuff. But for individual, sorry, my dog is making weird noises. Okay, for individual things like this, or for cutting very small, minute pieces, the Stampin' Trimmer rocks. I did check, it's still on inventory, so if you need one, go out and grab it before it's gone. All right, so the first layer we're going to cut. Remember, our card base was at 5 1/2, so here's our, I hope you can see that. I'm gonna move it down just a little bit. I hope it doesn't fall off my table. All right, so the first mark, here's 5 inches. The first long mark is 5 1/4, and the second long mark or second long tick mark on the ruler is 5 1/2. Or you can see, because our grid on here is in 1/4 inch increments, so here's 5 inches, 5 1/4, and 5 1/2. Slide it up, make sure it's flush against the little bar there, and that it lines up evenly on that grid mark. Isn't that, it's genius. Okay, so we're going to cut it not at 5 1/2 is what our card bases were, so slide it over to 5 1/4. There you go. Our first layer is going to be 1/4 inch shorter, so it's at 5 1/4, which is your first longish tick mark after your 5, or your first grid line. And cut. And I want you to do that one more time. Slide this over to 5 1/4, line it up, and cut. Now, you have this little narrow piece, and if you hold on to these little narrow pieces, by all means, put that in your craft bin. Now, because we've cut this at 5 1/4, we're going to take this to 4 inches. Now, why 4 inches? Let's go back to our card base. If we put this back up here, our card base measures 4 1/4. Remember, we scored it at 4 1/4, so it's going to be widthwise 4 1/4. So now we're going to subtract 1/4 from 4 1/4, and that leaves us at 4. So here's 1, slide it over to 4 inches one more time. And you can do it one more time. and again. So if you do this in a different direction, you won't get as many layers. So that's maximizing our paper. All right, so I've got some layers cut. The next thing I want to do is, remember we did 5 1/4 by 4. So our designer series paper is going to subtract another 1/4 inch. So now I want you to take your designer series paper, and if you don't like cutting your designer series paper, take a deep breath and trust me. We're going to line it up right on the 5-inch mark, and we're going to cut straight down. Then a 1/4 inch subtracted from 4 is 3 3/4. So again, we're going to count over how many grid marks, because this is marked at 1/4 inch increments. So here's 3 inches, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/4, and line it up. Make sure it's straight and slice. Beautiful. I promise, cutting your paper will make you make more cards. Let's do that one more time. All right. 5 inches, line straight, and 3 3/4. And we're done cutting. Isn't this fun? I love crafting with you guys in the morning. It just starts my day off very, very well. All right, next I'm going to find my adhesive. And look, Susan, I've got everything right here. Oh, my friend Susan gives me a hard time because I lose my adhesive all the time. Okay, so we're going to now layer our pieces. And, you know, sometimes you have a hard time deciding what side you want to use because the paper is just beautiful on both sides. All right, but I do love this Magnolia print. Oh, it's so, so pretty. Okay, set that aside. And then I have this. I need one of those. And just make sure, take your time and line it up, you know. I'm the last person to ever say it's crooked because I've seen some of mine. All right, so no judgment here. And we got some snail this morning. I'm gonna give a little extra because it's summertime in the South. Good morning, Sharon. It's good to see you. Good morning, Deborah. Oh, I've got some wonderful friends joining me today. Okay. And then this one, we're going to do the same thing. Just snail your little heart out. It makes me happy. And I love the sound. Okay, last base. Ooh, oh no. I don't know what that was. Okay, now, ooh, yeah. Don't ever say that that was straight. Okay, I have pre-cut some strips for banners. And this strip measures 3 3/4 because that's the width of our designer series paper by 3/4 of an inch. And then the black layer is 1 inch, also by 3 3/4. Okay? And that follows the same 1/4 inch measurement around that we used earlier for our bases. So I'm using this thanks stamp, and that comes from the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set that's available now if you're a demonstrator or on June 3rd. I love this, and the fonts are just elegant, which, you know, is keeping with the design. And I'm going to make 2 very quick thank you cards. This is the new cling stamp. So go ahead and put those labels on. It makes me so happy that those labels are sticking. Isn't that a beautiful font? I just love it. And again, I'm going to take a little snail. Maybe. There we go. And line it up. Okay. And then finally, these are some sweet and simple cards. I'm not adding embellishment to them. I wanted the paper and the sentiment to make my statement this morning. There we go. So those are the two we made just now. And then these are the two, or four, excuse me, that I made this morning before I started crafting with you. Beautiful. I think you're really going to like this Magnolia Lane Designer Series paper. I can't wait to show you. I'm actually using this at my quarterly for demonstrators on June 8th here in North Carolina. I've got, about 16 demonstrators, some from my team, some from other teams who are going to come and craft with us all day long at a little mini retreat, and this is one of the suites that we'll be using. So all the measurements and the video will be back up on my blog this morning, www.makingmemorieswithmichelle.com. If you need a catalog, please let me know. I'd be happy to send you one. If you'd like to place an order, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you out with that. Don't forget, I have a paper share coming up, which means you don't have to buy all of the 12 by 12 packs. I will cut it for you and I will ship it to you, and then you can decide for yourself which one you like best and which one you'd like to invest in. That information will also be on my blog. One more thing. On Saturday, June 1st, here in Pittsboro, North Carolina, I am having my great big annual buy one, get one free sale. So come out and shop my buy one, get one free tables, buy one retired product, and get equal value out of the new catalog for free. The other thing that's going on that day, because it is a super Saturday, we are celebrating with the new catalog, and there are 3 classes available, all using new catalog product. Again, details on that are on my Facebook page under the events tab or on my blog. Take care, everyone, and I will see you Saturday morning right here for Crafty Saturday. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.